I've always been to bikes, doing my stone carving and stuff. The feeling of movement in sculpture is something I really like. I like that there's a shape, there's a feeling you can get that implies movement and life. And on the bike, it's that movement, like going around going around bends, leaning the bike around the bends, and the body language that you have to use. It's that movement that I enjoy on the bike. That feeling of just describing movement. If anything would have fallen, it would have been complete catastrophe. And again, we just worked out how to do it, and we've managed to do it. And which again is one of those things that really people realise the amount of effort that artists generally put into work.
That picture you took of.
Actually, just did it on here. Did you just done
Oh, sure, down here. Perhaps enough. Is that no?
Epic construction. So yeah, so these are real trees that we got, because in Bristol, where the studio was, it's near the Avon Gorge and Lee Woods, which is an old woodland, and the Forestry Commission had been chopping trees down up this little windy path. It was quite steep, it's in the gorge, so it was quite steep. So we saw this big pile of logs, branches, trees, whatever. So Cathy had the idea to use them for this piece. Can't see the wool for the trees, it's called.
So with this piece, the idea was the niches are like niches that you find in a lot of old sort of mainly Victorian or Georgian buildings, and where you might find or on churches where you have niches with apostles and saints and that sort of thing. So it was putting children where you would see normally a historic figure, so it's like in the future where you normally have the past, and the idea of different ethnicities and different cultures. A lot of people think that my work's realistic. I'm not really aiming particularly for realism, but because in a lot of the work I started using real clothes and things from the real world to make the figure have a unity. If you're using real things, it has to have a certain amount of realism, otherwise it doesn't unify. It is the ideas that is sort of more important. So if they are sort of more realistic, I think people then maybe don't think so much about how they're made, and it's more about what they're about. And Steve always does the welding initially, and I just sort of stand directing. If the welding isn't right, if the skeleton isn't right, then you're sort of fighting against it rather than working with it. So you have to have that right to begin with. I tend to then do all the modelling. Steve helps sometimes, although you don't like doing the rubber bit quite so much, do you? I tend to do a bit more. But we tend to work then together on the mould and on the jacket of the mould, because it's much quicker with two people, especially on a sort of sizable piece. Yeah, Steve tends to do the drilling and the anything more power tooly. I suppose you tend to use the power tools.
It got to a point where it is out of your hands, really. You've done your bit. You've got it, hopefully, by checking the wax, everything, you've got it exactly as you want it to be. The process will work. It will look like that. That's the thing. You've got to have faith in that. You've done, like I say, and then the bronze, the pouring, as long as they do their job, it will come out and it will look like that. So it's just having faith in that process, really.
My work is quite traditional, as I use clay and my hands. I think AI have produced a few artworks and a few sculptures, but generally they're slightly behind. You can't replace the actual hands-on human making with AI, even if you can feed in lots of artworks and then sort of program something to then produce something that looks similar. It's still always lacking that human involvement. can never fully anticipate what people are going to take from your work. It's when people can actually remember your work. I always think that is a huge compliment.